It's showtime, folks. Enjoy the show.
A fine Saturday matinee to you, Steve Sarmento.
Good morning. It's November. It's our birthday month.
It's our birthday month.
It's a birthday month.
So excited.
Yes.
I'm so excited. Do you have your birthday movies all laid out for you yet?
No.
You know what's
No. Because I never know if there's going to be something smaller that shows up at the last minute. So I try to.
You like to play that by ear.
I do.
You like to freestyle a little bit.
Yes, I do. And usually it's like Thanksgiving weekend, and then it's going to be something like, okay, what is everybody else wanting to see? Because like, oh, Thanksgiving weekend, I'm going off by myself. See you all later. I'm done with you. It doesn't.
I know,
doesn't
that's
play
the
too well.
tragedy.
Yeah.
Because your birthday is technically after Thanksgiving, is that right?
Yes.
Usually?
Yeah, usually right after.
Okay, and mine is right before.
Uh-huh.
But for the last, as long as I can remember, it's been on a weekday. I just take the day off and do my thing. I actually don't know when it is this year. If it's on...
You don't know what day your birthday is this year?
Well, I know what day my birthday for crying out loud.
I have to work on my birthday this year because mine's a Tuesday, so I'm working, and it's fine. It's fine. It's a Tuesday. Yeah. I'm like, I got to go up to the northern part of the state. It's like I'll have gotten everything done over the weekend, so I'll be all set.
Mine is the Tuesday before
Okay.
Thanksgiving. It's also a Tuesday, but I can't remember the last time I didn't just blow off everything on my birthday. That has been the greatest gift of adulthood.
It's a horrible curse during childhood. I don't know how. I remember my mom tried to have I think I was in second or third grade. She tried to have like a birthday party, and like nobody came because it was like the Saturday after Thanksgiving. She thought, well, people will. Nah, nobody came.
That
was the last time she
terrible.
tried that, and so I was always, at my grandmother's house or some relative's house, or everybody was over at our house for Thanksgiving, and my birthday cake was always a pumpkin pie, which was kind of cool.
Yeah.
So I and then I always knew Christmas was right around the corner. So it's works out.
Yeah, it's good. My mom's December 23rd.
Oh, that's the worst.
What do you think of that? That's the worst.
It's like that's Christmas and birthday.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And she's become really persnickety about it too, right? And she in her age, once she realized that she got the really short stick, she was like, "No, you are not giving me combined gifts. That's BS. I'm not into it. I have a birthday just like everyone else. Christmas season starts the day after."
Yeah. Well, my brother, his is in February, and so it's like everybody's broke after Christmas.
Yeah.
Still, and it's just like, oh, here, man, we wrapped it in a paper bag. There you go.
Yeah, here's a collection of bags we bought all our Christmas presents in.
Exactly.
Happy birthday.
Yes.
Wow. That's good. Hey, I wanted to follow up on something that we talked about. A couple of things. I got follow up. It turns out everything that I have to talk about is follow up.
Okay. Go ahead.
The first is related to a story that you brought to me that I had missed a couple of weeks ago. And it turns out I had missed the follow-up too. And that is, not only did they cancel Iron Fist, this Netflix, they canceled Cage too.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Cage.
Oh, I missed that follow-up.
Gone.
Oh, okay. Ooh.
Yeah. So I feel like we had that conversation already, but this one hits me where it hurts because I was a big fan of Luke Cage, and I think that was really unfortunate. But according to, they interviewed this analytics firm that's been trying to track the data that Netflix refuses to release, right? Just straight up traffic data.
Yeah.
And word is that between the first and the second season of both of those shows, they lost over 2/3 of their viewership, right? Of their downloads, of their views, whatever you want to call that in Netflix parlance. And that's a significant drop.
Yeah.
That apparently has not afflicted the other two shows. I have not watched Daredevil 3. I did just this week finish The Punisher, and I quite enjoyed that. And it is, as far as I know, still marked as, coming back at some point. So who knows when, but I thought John Bernthal was great.
See,
and
I'm so far behind, and they're creating their own problem. The market is flooded. People have enough room for their Marvel shows, but then they keep cranking out other content as well. And it's like, well, I could watch another superhero series, or I could watch this other new thing. That's, I'm not a big fan of horror. I don't know if I'm going to do this haunted House Hill Shirley Jackson thing, but apparently it's like the creepiest, scariest thing out there. Yeah. And I know that's gotten a lot of eyeballs on it. So yeah, if you were going to put that out there, you're going to lose it somewhere else, because unless Netflix creates a time travel machine that allows you to enter the Blot Nelson zone where you can watch more than 24 hours of movies in a day,
you won't have
their content is going to exceed the eyeballs. And I don't know if their subscriptions, if people are increasing that as much as the content they are, they're going to hit. If I graph it, if I was the analytics firm, how many people and how many hours and how much hours of original content is on there, and those things are going to cross. And at some point, it's like there's not enough eyeballs to watch everything they're making. So,
it's true. But, far be it from me to curse a thriving creative economy.
Yeah. No, that's, I love,
but it is hard.
We watched the Joel McHale show when he did a season of that. And I remember at one point he said, this was last week, or since this is on Netflix, 13 years ago.
Yeah, that's about right. That's
the great thing. Yeah. I made, not get around everything, and 3 years from now I'll just binge everything. So
I use I don't know, for what it's worth, if there are those in there in our community who need a way to track all the television that they watch, because we have Letterboxd for movies, but do you use anything to track your TV?
No. There used to be a couple things out there, but they were one of those things that came and went quickly. So there was something called,
I happen to use something.
Okay, what do you use?
I do. Well, there's a service, I think it's called Tractor or something that you can use. For me, I use an app for my phone called TV Time, and I really, really like it. It's got the whole, I don't know where it's pulling from, but it pulls the whole database of all the shows that you watch, and even a good selection of YouTubers, believe it or not. And so you sign in, you set up your little account. I have it syncing via iCloud, but then you list all your shows, and it'll tell you in the main list of shows, here's the show, and here's when the next episode is due. For example, you've got It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia is coming in 4 days. I've got an episode. I got 4 days, but I've got a bunch of shows in there. So then you go to this next little smart list, which is the to watch list, and it shows you the next episode of every show you're watching. And as soon as you watch it, you check a little box, and it goes into the archive and says, hey, you've watched this. And then it tells you some really crazy stats of just how much television you've spent watching. It's very disappointing. I've got straight 164 days, 14 hours, and 18 minutes, or 6,081 episodes. And yet I have, to your point, 932 unseen episodes of the shows that I'm currently watching that I or want to watch. This is not great. It's not great.
Oh.
Also, I run a movie podcast.
And have a family that you occasionally spend time with.
I don't know who they are.
Okay, I'm looking at this. So for $1.99 a month, I can become a very important fan. What does that get me?
I don't.
Because I'm looking at it in the iTunes store, and it says in-app purchases, and I'm usually that's like, take the ads off the thing or something like that. But it doesn't quite tell me. But I do see that it offers all these great features of what episodes to watch next, and I don't know that I'm paying a subscription. The only option that I have is a tip. Like I can tip the developer. So it's called TV Time. I've got one. And
it's what does the icon look like for you?
A giant yellow T.
No, that's not it.
Oh, okay.
This is a different thing.
There's another. Imagine that, 2 apps with the same name.
Yeah. I've never seen that sort of confusion in the App Store. It's an orange block, and it has a little looks like a monitor with a check mark in the middle of it.
Okay.
I'm gonna put it in the show notes because I have the authority and the power to do that.
Okay.
In case you're interested. But this one, I've used a couple of them. This one I really like, and you can use the back end, the syncing engine. You can use either iCloud like I do, or the Tracked. That's the name of the company of the syncing service for television. It's Letterboxd for television.
Letterboxd for television. Jeez, because I've got Letterboxd for my movies. I've got my Letterboxd for my beer, and I recently started letterboxing my bourbons, and so I got a friend that got me into that. So I got all these.
Nice.
So now it's every time I'm out someplace and I order a beer, it's like my wife's like, "Hey, he's gonna do his thing," and the phone comes out. I take a picture, log it, and people are like, "What?" I'm like, "Hey, this way, I know if I liked it before."
life isn't worth living if it's not cataloged.
If it's not catalog, tracked, rated,
right.
3 stars, 4 stars. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Oh, it's a horrible thing we're doing.
Well, I'm just saying the TV thing is out there. What I really like about it is you can go to seasons of shows you've already watched, and you can, if you want to just remember, hey, I have watched this series. You can just say, I watch it. The whole thing is, maybe it's a finished series. It's not being made anymore. Yeah. You check off the entire series and you archive it, and then at least it's in your catalog, so you know that you've watched it. And don't forget Goodreads for your letterboxing your books.
Yes, because around the water cooler, or it could be like, hey, did you see that episode of Silent Life? Hold on, let me get my app. Let me check.
Let me get my phone.
Did I see let me see if I watched that, because I can't remember if I watched it. That was just 2 nights ago. Let me see. Yes. Okay. Yes, I did. I gave it 3.5 stars.
Oh yes.
Did not like the cold open. The opening monologue I gave 2 stars because it fell a little flat. Oh.
I got more follow-up. Are you ready for my second follow-up?
Okay.
This is from the good and kind Nick Langdon, who wrote in after our conversation on Filmstruck. And he actually had engaged with them. Did you see this? This is fantastic. I want to read
No. I don't think I did see this. Okay, let's hear it.
He says, just on Filmstruck, I emailed them. And of course, you got to remember, he's not in the U.S. And this was one of the questions that we had. What's the story with Filmstruck outside of the U.S.?
Oh, yes.
And I find this staggering. Just on Filmstruck, Nick says, I emailed them when they launched asking why they were misrepresenting themselves. They were branded for all movie lovers and stuff like that, but buried in the fine print was U.S. only. And they admitted it hadn't occurred to them to offer anything to international audiences. They told me that they were taken aback by the interest and were investigating whether they could expand globally, but had never made the effort to license any of their content for domestic showing. I told them there was great irony in championing world cinema while shutting out the rest of the world.
There's people with TVs out there? Or computers out there?
Oh my God. It is so painful. So painful. The massive ego and geocentrism of these services. I am stunned. I know it's hard. It's a hard thing, but we've learned to walk and chew gum at the same time. And so you have to ask the question, why is Filmstruck in trouble? Maybe not directly related to this, but certainly related to the mindset that led to this kind of support response. That is just stunning to me.
Wow. So people that now I'm going to check while I'm here, because somebody did point out to me, I saw on Twitter someplace, somebody was saying, for everybody crying about the loss of Filmstruck and the Criterion, you can check, because there is Kanopy, which is spelled with a K, Kanopy, which is a film streaming service that you can access if your library has partnered with them or signed up for that. And they do carry, I don't know how much of the Criterion collection, but they do have a significant chunk of it out there, and it's free. You just access it if you're public. You enter the name of your local public library and I think your library card to verify your account. And they have apps on the Apple TV, Google Play, Roku, Amazon App Store. But I'm looking and I don't. Oh, even Chromecast. I don't know if it is something that's going to be available to the Nick Langdons of the world, or if this is limited to US only. But for people that are looking for an alternative to Filmstruck, or maybe got blocked out because you were outside the continental United States, this may be something to look into. And I'd have to dig in. I don't see anything that clearly says available worldwide, but it does tie into libraries. So I could imagine that universities in other places around the world may be part of this network. So
here's hoping. I'll put a link to Kanopy in the show notes, and just a word of grieving to all of our international listeners. I assure you, we in the United States are not terrible people. We just sometimes make terrible decisions, and we're sorry.
So appropriate.
Also,
so
it's
appropriate.
Day.
I was just going to say, so appropriate. This coming up with again, U.S. centric. Yeah. We're deciding the fate of the world on next Tuesday, so everybody pay attention.
What we're really doing is trying to protect the rest of the world from our terrible decisions. That's what we're doing on Tuesday. So we're sorry in advance. Okay,
we're trying to next Tuesday. It's vaccination day. Trying to protect the world.
We're trying. All right. The last bit of follow up that I have, and this is on our. It's a little bit of Well, no, I'm going to hold that. I'm going to hold that because it may actually relate to our lists.
Okay, I have a follow-up because
Do tell. Now it's your turn.
last week you Andy's going to be so mad at me, but again, that's what he gets for not being here. 2/3 of your list were movies that I hadn't seen. So I did, I watched Police Story based on your recommendation. That movie starts out bonkers. I couldn't believe that. My wife and I are watching and she's like, okay, it's little, sort of town on this village on the side of the hill. And then when the bad guys try to escape and they're just driving cars through these buildings down the side, she thought, are they destroying an entire village? I said, well, they may have just built that for, the movie, but still completely different from, I think, the way the U.S. does things, because it looks like they just stuck guys in cars and had them drive through the actual buildings, because by the time these cars got to the bottom, they were not anywhere near drivable condition. It wasn't like...
No, they weren't cars anymore.
No, they weren't. It wasn't like they come crashing through and then a big, chase through the roads. It's like, no, they're just beat. Yeah. And then, of course, the famous mall, scene at the end with so much breaking glass. There was so much glass. That I had a great time. Thank you for recommending that one. That one
I'm
was
so glad to hear that. I'm delighted. But you know what I'm saying though? Now that you've seen it, like you've seen it.
Oh yeah.
And what you watch that movie for is not the narrative. You watch that movie for everything else.
No, exactly. For the sliding down the big metal pole that all the Christmas lights or holiday, whatever, are plugged into, which as he slid down that, and then we saw it from like 3 more angles. I thought, oh, they did that once and that was it. And we're going to see it multiple times because that's the only footage that exists of that. And that's right. I read in the IMDb trivia there, it said that they had accidentally actually plugged it into outlets instead of some batteries. So it was higher voltage that sort of gave him a little bit of a zap as he was sliding down that pole. So.
Oh my God. You guys, the trouble you put Jackie Chan through.
But see, Andy's going to be mad because you mentioned a movie. I watch it like less than 12 hours later. He's urging me to watch In the Name of the Father, and it's just nowhere near.
And you still haven't
still nowhere near any list that yeah, Andy, I'll watch that now.
Yeah, I'll get to it
someday. It's been on the list. I'll get around to it.
That's good.
Maybe it'll be part of my birthday celebration. Maybe I doubt it. I don't think I'm going to sit. Hey kids, let's watch this. No.
Well, I applaud you, and I'm deeply gratified that you chose mine over Andy's. And I think that's it. I think that's all we've got for today, unless you have any more follow-up.
No more follow-up to anything. Although I did see Nick Langdon did post at just this morning about Don Hertzfeld releasing a 4K restoration of his classic animated short Rejected, which is out there on YouTube. And so I urge people, if you have not seen Rejected, to go check that out. It is it's sort of a comedy bellwether in our house. When Hannah was in high school, she would make her friends watch Rejected and his other short, Wisdom Tooth, to get a sense of if their sense of humor was compatible with hers. And I warned her, I said, please don't do that at like lunch on your phone at school, because that's not appropriate for school. Please don't do that. But
nice.
I love Rejected. If you haven't seen it, it's one of those great Saturday pleasures. Sit down, have a laugh.
I have not seen it.
What? It's Oscar. When we're done, take whatever 6 minutes or whatever. Watch Rejected. You're gonna love it.
Absolutely, on the list. Did you catch Suspiria yet?
No, I have opted to go with Andy on. I think, is that election night we're going? Maybe it is.
We're
doing the live.
Concert,
so it's the film with the band Goblin did the score, performing it live in front of the screening, and so I'm going to do that to refresh my memory, and then see the new one. And then because I know he just saw the newer one, and so I think we'll have we're going to see if we can find some time to sit down and record a little special episode, and I think it'll be interesting to see if it makes any difference in our perception of the new one.
I asked the good Andy if he thought I would like it, and I have not seen the original.
Okay.
And he says, let's see, what does he say? That it's It's possibly the biggest WTF movie I've seen in ages.
Wait a second.
Crazy.
Wait. Does he not remember this summer when we watched Sorry to Bother You? Because to me, that was bonkers.
That
and
was crazier.
If he says this is, oh my, Andy. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
He says it's definitely something that amps things up from the original in all sorts of crazy witchy ways. I don't know if it's your cup of tea. That's a gentle way of saying, Pete, keep your distance. Yeah, make other plans.
Okay.
All right, let's do trailers. What do you got this week?
Oh, I've got Rated K for Kleenex is what I've got. We're getting into that season. But I guess I'm sort of sticking in my wheelhouse with a movie about, I guess they're teenagers. It's hard to tell. The description says a pair of teenagers with life-threatening illnesses meet in a hospital and fall in love, and you're thinking, yeah, we've seen this. Where was this 5 years ago? It's CBS Films, which I think they're struggling to find.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, it is. They did the they had that one about the American Assassin or whatever from like last year that I kept seeing trailers for and kept thinking, well, this just looks like a TV show.
I started even reading the book and it didn't. I couldn't stick with it. I couldn't stick with the book.
Oh
American
my!
Assassin.
You read the Meg. Wow,
I did.
Okay, but this one, for me, it feels like a good trailer rewind pick, and it's directed by Justin Baldoni, and I didn't recognize his name, but he, according to IMDb in his bio, he created the most watched digital documentary series in history, My Last Days, which has gone to raise help for over 1 million various families and charities. And so he is very just active sort of in the community of creating more positivity in the world and helping people and using film to create those positive messages. And this is 5 Feet Apart, which is a story of 2 kids with cystic fibrosis. And here's something I didn't know. They cannot get closer than 6 feet from each other because of bacteria and cross-contamination. And I guess it can cause all kinds of complications.
That seems kind of arbitrary.
It's got to be based on...
I question science.
Science. We'll get to science a little bit later. But what drew me into this is Haley Lou Richardson, who I just loved in Edge of 17, if you haven't seen that. And she was also one of the girls in Split. I think she was the one whose birthday party it was at the beginning. Right. And then surprisingly, because I am not an active viewer of shows on the CW, I did not know he was on Riverdale, but I do remember him from The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody, Cole Sprouse. So it's the 2 of them, yes, and of course he's the rebellious, one who's going to push the limits, and she's just trying to get by, and a little romance happens. And from the trailer, it looked like something that nice family movie night to sit down and watch, and feeling, I guess, now that we're past Halloween into the Christmas season, since I already saw Christmas lights up on a street not too far from here on a house, to do something a little heart-touching. So that's what I'm bringing this week. And you know what I didn't do? I don't know when this is being released. I don't have a date because you're going to ask me, when are we going to see that?
I am.
And I'm going to say,
I'm about to do that.
I'm going to say, I don't know, sometime in February, I'm guessing. I bet you that I'm going to take a look. I'm going to click around here.
You're going to circle back around.
I'm going to circle back.
And you're going to let us know when we can see this movie.
Because I know you're dying to see it. It is. It reminds me of, Fault in Our Stars. And then there was a TV series, what was it? Red Band Society, about a whole group of kids that were stuck. Yep. And it has, it feels like, we've done this. Is it going to come back around? Have we already seen this story? But to me, I'm a sucker for something like this, and I know it's a trailer rewind that I can get JJ to watch. So I got that.
Oh, absolutely,
it's got that going for it because I sort of owe him one because of last month's Raw. This is going to be perfect for spring break, March 22nd, 2019.
Well, that actually seems like a good drop date too, because it seems like they're not real ashamed of it.
Right, they're not burying it in January or February. Yeah.
So. Even though you've really seen this story before, they really do want you to see it again. Unlike my pick, which
we've seen before,
and nobody really wants you to watch. So here's the deal. It's a remake the movie that I'm talking about. The movie is The Upside, and it's a remake of a fairly recent a French film called The Intouchables. From 2011, and it was inspired, it's a true story, inspired by the life of Philippe Pozzo di Borgo, who was a very, very rich billionaire who was paralyzed. And so he ends up striking an unlikely friendship with a recently paroled convict, played by, in this case, Kevin Hart. The billionaire is played by Bryan Cranston, also stars Nicole Kidman and Juliana Margulies and Aja Naomi King. And it is, you watch the trailer, and I don't know about you, but you've seen this movie before. I feel like this is a movie that seemed reminiscent of many other movies, whether it was sort of Scent of a Woman or Dead Poets or whatever. I mean, there's a certain sense that you've definitely seen this movie before.
Yeah, I think I saw this on like TBS in 1996.
Yes,
yeah, that and feel of like it would just always be on. It's one of those things where it'll have its funny moments. It'll have a sort of attempt at a heart-touching ending that will be okay, and there's nothing solid that stands out. But what really baffles me is this cast. Nicole Kidman's usually kind of picky about stuff. It's not like she just throws her hat in on everything. And
right,
I really don't know what to make of Nicole Kidman, Bryan Cranston, Kevin Hart. How that happened. So
well. Let me tell you a little bit more about this movie then, and see if you can figure out how this happened. This movie actually was originally released at TIFF. September 8th, 2017. Huh? 2017.
Oh.
But Pete, you're saying, Pete, why are we only hearing about this movie now? Why is its U.S. release date scheduled for January 11th, 2019, if it premiered at TIFF in 2017? Yeah. Pete, surely you're wrong this week. Surely this is not a great pick. And I will just say to you, the Weinstein Company.
Oh,
yes,
Harvey.
The Weinstein Company. This is a movie that probably wasn't going to do very well because it just doesn't look like it's great. Somehow, Harvey, they ended up with a great cast in this movie, and that was produced in an era when the Weinstein Company had some checks to write in Hollywood, and then Harvey happened, and this is one of the first movies that was to be released from the Great Shelving when Weinstein Company was dissolved. And so I think it's interesting for a number of reasons. They're clearly not proud of it. They've slated it for January 11th. It feels like it's in a real dark days of winter to put this movie. There's no reason to really look forward to it. But the people who have come and gone around this movie, I mean, it was originally a Paul Feig thing, and he had written the script, and he was slated to direct it, and Chris Rock and Jamie Foxx and Idris Elba were all eyed for the role of that's currently being played by Kevin Hart. Colin Firth had signed on for the Bryan Cranston billionaire role. Jessica Chastain and Michelle Williams were on board at one time for the Nicole Kidman role. Feig dropped out. Tucker dropped out. Kevin Hart came in with Dell, and eventually Neil Berger was announced as director, and they completely canned Paul Feig's script and came back with a script from Josh Hartnett. And so this has been a mess of production, like most movies are a mess at some point, but it's been a mess of production that wasn't helped by Harvey's disastrous antics and the dissolution of the company. And so now it was picked up again, and it's back. And it comes thanks to STX and Lantern Entertainment. Somebody's got a little bit of faith in it, but we'll see. Everything I've heard is, please, 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 you should not have remade this movie. The Intouchables was amazing, and you should all go watch the French film.
Well, that's usually the case. That's usually the case with these things. And I love the idea of the Great Shelving. I can just see shopping in the iTunes store in the little like collections, like, collections, the great shelving of 2017, and it'll be like all these $5. Get the great shelving collection because nobody else saw these things.
Nobody else saw them, and in fact, you probably won't either. Who are we kidding? The Upside is already coming in from Festival Run with 4.4 on the IMDb 6-star rating. This is not a good movie, but I find it interesting, and I'm very curious about some of the other movies that are going to start trickling out from the great shelving. So. There you go.
Well, okay.
That's what I got.
That's what we got. Okay.
Shall we begin? Shall we begin the great list of science run amok?
Blinded by science.
Blinded by science, right.
Science. Science. Yes, this was a challenging list for me. Well, I have to say, I was trying to manipulate the list out, or manipulate the votes out there, because I was really pushing for bunker movies. I really wanted to do some bunker movies. I had a couple in mind that I was excited to share, but it went with science. Because I voted for everything, and then I figured if it stayed a tie, I'll take back a couple of votes so I can manipulate the thing. Well, I had to counteract the anarchism that was going out there of just like keeping it a tie. I'm like, fine, I'll vote for all three of them. And then in the 11th hour, I'm going to take back a couple of votes so I get my choice because I can.
Man, it's election week. You're going to play those kinds of games in election week. Don't you know? People don't trust the system.
Hey, I'm originally from Chicago where the slogan was vote early and vote often. Come on.
All right. Well, I in honor of your cheating, I think you should go first.
Okay, so this was actually more fun than I thought it was going to be, because my initial thoughts were, okay, I'll go with these movies. And then I thought, well, there's nothing surprising here. The whole fun of this is bringing things to people that maybe they haven't seen or they haven't expected. And I thought, I know we've talked about these movies on Discord. Everybody's seen these. Let me see if I can come up with something different, something a little bit unique. So I dug deep. I dug deep for my list of 3 movies. I have some backups that I can go to. We'll see if we get any overlap here. But my first one is a classic of the mid 80s. It is also from the writer of The Last Starfighter.
Oh, interesting.
Do you know this one?
I don't know.
A high school student and his friend find a strange orb-like piece of equipment to use as a science project, but must stop it when it begins to threaten mankind. 1985's My Science Project.
No, I don't know this.
You do not know this one. This was interesting because in the 80s, you have a main character who is like the gearhead of high school. He has he is not a scientist. He's not a nerd. He's not a geek. Our hero is the kid that hangs out in shop class and rebuilds cars on the weekend. And they're trying to corner him to get some information from the yearbook because, trying to build his profile. And they're like, yeah, how many times have you seen Return of the Jedi? He's like, what? I haven't seen that. So it's like the complete anti-nerd character who sneaks onto an old abandoned military base where there's some piece of alien technology that he brings and is going to pass off as his science project with his science teacher, played by Dennis Hopper.
Oh, dear.
This is John Stockwell as Michael Harlan, Barry Corbin as his father. It is just ridiculous fun because this science project pulls power off the main power grid, opens up a portal to other time zones. So all of a sudden, the high school, you've got like gladiators, Neanderthals, dinosaurs, all kinds of stuff running around. He's got to get back and try and shut this portal down. And of course, Dennis Hopper, as a science teacher, ends up somewhere back in Woodstock and makes a reappearance at the end of the film, playing Dennis Hopper. But it is just well paced. You have Fisher Stevens as his sidekick. It's pure 80s fun, and it is surprisingly rated PG. A fun, entertaining PG movie. Hits right at the 6-star on IMDb. It is a lot of fun. I found it actually out there on YouTube because it's been a long time since I've seen it. So I was trying to remember some main story points to figure out exactly if I recalled everything correctly. And it held up surprisingly well. I was really, it drags a little in the end, but overall, I had a great time revisiting this yesterday. My science project.
That's fantastic. It's on the list, and anytime you put Dennis Hopper in a lab coat, it merits a place on this list, I think.
Well, and
anytime.
I have to say, the writer of The Last Starfighter. So think about, how much you enjoy Last Starfighter. I'd say it's not quite up to that level, but still a lot of fun and does some really unique things that you would not expect from your typical 80s teen comedy science fiction movie.
All right. Noted. Well, my first pick, first of all, I have to say, I have a little bit of a bonus pick. I had never seen the movie Battle Royale. Have you ever seen Battle Royale? The 2000?
Yes, with the kids going amok.
With the kids? Yeah, I'd never seen it.
Okay.
And I read the, last night I was prepping for the show, and I read the little thing, and it says, these kids in the beginning of the movie, they're gassed and they wake up in this thing and they're about to take part in an experiment. And I thought, experiment? Bananas. This is a great excuse to watch this movie. Yes. And it turns out, I'm going to say this out loud, and I know within about 30 minutes it's going to be pulled, but the entire English subtitled version of this movie is on YouTube right now.
Okay.
And so if you're listening to the live stream, go watch it right now because it will be pulled because I've watched it.
Oh, anything that we post from YouTube disappears.
Anything that we pull on YouTube is pulled. So I did. I ended up watching it. It turns out it's not really a story about science.
No.
There's no science at all.
No.
But
it's a social experiment.
It's a social experiment, right? So I'm calling this my bonus pick, and I'm only bringing it up because it will be pulled because I've watched it. If you've never seen it, it's worth seeing. And this is that movie that Quentin Tarantino says, any movie that's been made since I've been alive. If there's any movie that's been made since I've been alive that I wish I had directed, it's this movie. And so if you're into movies that great filmmakers enjoy, this is one to watch. And I surprisingly enjoyed my time with this film. I did not expect to enjoy any of my time with this film, and I really did.
Oh yeah, it's the more gory, brutal version of the Hunger Games.
Hunger Games, right?
Well,
and then it was just made again as the Belko experiment.
Yes.
I mean, it's just one after another. But this was a great one. So anyway, that leads me to so I didn't pick that.
Okay,
I'm going to go back to one of my favorites. I really enjoyed this movie when I first saw it because I saw it as a psychology undergrad, and I was doing experiments on my friends involving sleep deprivation, and we had just gone to be tested in a sensory deprivation chamber, an assault chamber in New Jersey. For the first time. It was my first experiment. And then I saw this movie and I felt like I am home. Because if I can unleash my inner monkey, just like the ayahuasca people can, I'm going to be all a part of that. I'm talking, of course, about Ken Russell's film, Altered States. Based on the book by Patty Chayefsky. This is a film that is incredibly well written. It is well acted. William Hurt, Blair Brown, Bob Balaban, they're fantastic in this movie. I deeply enjoyed this film from December 25th. It released Christmas 1980, a real holiday classic.
Yeah. It has been forever since I've seen this one. It has been forever. But it's what I need to see again because I saw it, I think, on HBO or Showtime sometime in the mid 80s. And just remember thinking, what did I just watch? This is crazy. You look at the cast, you look at everybody behind this, and this is, I think, one of these overlooked classics. Comes in at a 6.9.
It does. It's worth it, and it marks. It actually marks the film debut of one young Drew Barrymore.
Oh wow!
In 1980, she went on to other things from here, but which we'll talk about momentarily.
Oh no!
I guarantee it.
Oh my!
All right, what's your next one?
Okay, all right. This is the closest you're going to get to a Woody Allen pick from me. And I'm bringing it to this list. And if my brother's listening, he knows what I'm talking about. Because this is a movie that we fell in love with for so many reasons. Written and directed by Marshall Brickman, who also, wrote a lot of like Annie Hall, worked with Woody Allen, but this is far from Woody Allen territory. You've got, let's see, John Lithgow. You've got Cynthia Nixon as a young teenager.
What?
You've got, all kinds of craziness when a high school prodigy builds an atomic bomb with stolen plutonium to win the National Science Fair and expose a nuclear weapons lab posing as a nuclear medicine lab in Ithaca, New York. 1986, The Manhattan Project. Have you not seen this?
I know that I have seen the Manhattan Project.
Come on, where he's got the remote control car and he breaks into the lab and steals and replaces it with the shampoo. I mean, all this is about, sort of corrupt science and, the brilliant potential of kids in the science field. This made being, into science and tech stuff cool because you could pull off a heist. It wasn't about being picked on and bullied. It was like, if you know enough science, you can pull off some really cool stuff. And then, of course, awesome. The larger environmental message and all of that. But for me, when I think about sticking with blinded by science of sometimes, science develops in a way that we don't ask why, but we just think, hey, we can make some money off of this and create dangerous things. And smart teenagers can point out our flaws. So that's, oh my gosh, I love this movie so much. And just, it's one of these that it's not available streaming anywhere. You're going to have to find it on disc through like Netflix or Amazon, at a used bookstore, find it on DVD or something. But just love this movie. Works so well. Such smart writing. And as a teenager watching this and saying, yeah, I could do this stuff. This is fun. This is cool. I love science.
Yeah. Hey, can I ask you what may be a leading question?
Yeah.
Does your number one movie also end in project?
No, it does not.
You've got My Science Project and the Manhattan Project.
No.
And I wondered, are you going to be cheeky enough to actually give us a number one that ends in project?
No.
I would like that. That would satisfy me.
I am not, unfortunately.
Well, my second pick does not involve projects, but it does involve Drew Barrymore. See?
Okay.
That was foreshadowing what I did before.
Yes, it is. Oh no.
This movie is, this is one of those movies. I put this in there. There's a category of these movies that I had a crush on, right? That I really was crushing on this movie and Poltergeist when I was a kid. And like, these are movies that I thought I want to be in these movies. I watched these movies hundreds of times on HBO in hotel rooms whenever we traveled. They were on. I'd watch them every half hour when they kept coming back because that's what HBO used to do.
Yes.
I just finished the book The Stand by Stephen King, so I'm thinking a lot about Stephen King. So when this came on, when this list came up, I thought, well, this is obviously going to be in my list because I crush on this movie. It's a story of one Andy McGee and his wife Vicky, and played by Heather Locklear. Have impacted my crush on this movie. I was an idiot kid. What are you going to do? And it also stars the young Drew Barrymore as Charlie in Firestarter. These Andy and Vicky had been given doses of this hallucinogen that gave them telepathic abilities, and their daughter now can start fires with her mind. This is all thanks to the very aptly named Department of Scientific Intelligence. And that's what makes it science. And so it's a chaser movie. It's you're going to be abducted by the shop, and then you're going to start fires and kill a bunch of people with your accidental fires, and science run amok. Look, metaphor for science is fire. It's dangerous. And so that's it. That's Firestarter 1984. If you've never seen it, it's a rollicking good time. It is a 1984 fire movie, so take it with a grain of salt.
So, Pete, I'm going to ask you a question, and it may be a leading question. Is your next movie going to involve people taking hallucinogens? Because you've got Altered States and you've got Firestarter, and they both feature people taking hallucinogens.
It may.
So science is only bad when you're doped up on drugs. Kids, If the 80s taught us anything, it's just say no. This is your brain. This is your science brain on drugs.
Oh, dear. Oh, Steve. What's your first number one pick?
My number one science nerd geeky movie. I'm still in the 80s. I can't get out of the 80s. There was something about 1985, 1986, the age I was, cable TV, movies about science and making it fun. And to me, it all culminates in a classic of university nerds that are working on a project that is being turned into a military weapon, and they decide they're not going to let that happen, and they're going to take things back with a giant ball of popcorn at the end. Val Kilmer, real genius, 1985. Let's have the nerds be responsible with their science. Because if I have to have science, I have to have Val Kilmer. I have to have real genius. There we go.
Yeah. There you go. That is a fantastic pick, and honestly, it was on my list if I wasn't so into the darker,
the dark drug movies.
Sciences,
yes, okay.
The darker sciences this time around. But that is a fantastic pick, and man, if you've never seen this one, you must get it on the list. It's so good. Or maybe it's not. This is one that I don't know if I would want to even risk my memory.
Oh no, it holds up.
Is it really hold up?
Oh, because we watched it with the kids. Because we said, I don't know, I think maybe 3 or 4 years ago, we're like, oh no, you guys have to watch this. And yes, it's a bit dated in some things, but still, so many classic lines, great music. No, it holds up. All 3 of these picks of mine from more than 30 years ago, to me, all still hold up. Because we watched the Manhattan Project. Somehow we found it, or maybe borrowed it from the library a couple of years ago. Because I have to, pass along my childhood or teenage experiences with these movies to my kids, and they endure it and put up with me. But I enjoyed all 3 of these.
Outstanding. All right. Well, I'm going to give you my last pick, and you know what? I guess it was a little bit cheeky of me to say that it directly involves hallucinogens. It's sort of, it's a hallucinogenic experience, you could say, Steve, when you decide to make a game out of the experience and experiment of killing yourself. I am talking, of course, about Joel Schumacher's 1990 film Flatliners, starring the weirdest little concoction of the Brat Pack
yes.
that you could put together. Kiefer Sutherland, Julia Roberts, William Baldwin, Billy Baldwin, Oliver Platt, and the Bacon, Kevin Bacon. Cinematography by Jan de Bont.
Oh, wow.
I had forgotten that. This is a movie. It's another one of those movies that I had a little crush on. This is, students doing things that they shouldn't do when the brilliant Nelson Wright decides to, he's a medical student. He decides he's going to see what the afterlife looks like, and he flatlines for 1 minute before his classmates resuscitate him. And then all of the classmates decide to do the same thing. And what comes out of their experience is a nice little psychological thriller. And I really enjoyed this movie. This was also at a time, I think, when I was crushing on medical school stories. Like, I was a big fan of, like, Gross Anatomy. And, it's the only one that comes to my mind right now. But, man, I loved that movie so much. And so, maybe I was trying to be a doctor at that point. I thought maybe I'd be a doctor, but I was too dumb. And so,
okay.
So, anyhow, it was. I really enjoyed this movie. What did you think of Flatliners? You remember it? You have a good memory of the original, the one and true Flatliners?
We tried watching it maybe last year.
Doesn't hold up.
When was the remake? Was that like last year around this
2017.
time? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because kids were interested in sort of seeing that. I said, well, we should watch the original. I think it was on Hulu. And about 40 minutes in, we were all just like, it's not
really
holding up. No, I don't know. I don't know if it's the Schumacher style where I'm like, so there's some construction at the university. So the only place that you can pull your experiment is like in the middle of a museum that made no, I'm like, yeah. I was like, what is with this? It just, there was a lack of chemistry for the cast, I think. Now, I think at the time, everybody would go see anything that any of them were in. Now it just, it fell a little flat.
Oh, Steve, you didn't.
I did.
You didn't.
I did.
Well, I do have one other little bonus pick that is much more timely.
Wait, you get two bonus picks?
Yeah, do you have a bonus pick?
Wait a second. You already had one bonus pick. You had your extra. No, and I got a second one.
It wasn't even in the thing. It wasn't even in the thing. This is more of a follow-up.
Oh.
It's a bonus pick follow-up.
No, I as I said, my other ones that I was going to bring are all movies that everybody's talked about. Like, Contact, Primer, The Prestige. Those are my other go-to fun science. But we've talked about those, previously.
That is becoming, we're really hamstrung by this rule that we're not talking about movies because we've definitely talked about, I guess we've talked about all the great movies.
Yeah. All right. So we're done, everybody. Good night.
Hey, that's not funny. I watched on Halloween night. What was your Halloween? Did you watch a movie on Halloween?
No, we did not. We hung out in the neighborhood. We always do a little cul-de-sac potluck and everybody hangs out there. Emma went off to a friend's and watched the original Friday the 13th. So she was interested in, checking into some classic horror, but no, didn't watch anything.
Well, my daughter went off and watched Drag Me to Hell with her friends, and that was truly traumatic experience. And my son broke his arm on Halloween Day.
Oh,
and so I spent the day with him getting casted up and X-rayed, and we came home and watched a double feature of Dave Made a Maze and The Meg. And The Meg is what I'd like to talk to you about today.
Okay. Is a bonus science pick? Okay.
It is a story of science run amok. You don't want to go through that hydrothermic layer, but you just have to know what's down there because of science. And then you discover what's down there. And when you come back up, you know what comes with you? Nightmares. That's what happens. It's like Jacob's Ladder, but with sharks. It's like Flatliners, but with sharks. All of these things, it's the same story.
It's hallucinogenic sharks.
Same story.
We got it. Okay.
It's hallucinogenic. Let me tell you about this. Why I still, even after seeing it, gave it, I think, 3 stars. Because, first of all, they end up, John Turteltaub, ends up really showing a great deal of restraint in this giant monster movie at not giving away so much of the monster in the first scene. And so you end up with this experience of waiting like 42 minutes before you get some of the biggest, kind of horror sequences. And I thought that was great. That was a great choice. Second, the final beach sequence, if you're a fan of Jaws, you're going to have to watch this like 50 times to see all of the nods to Jaws. Like, it seems like shots, camera angles. They named the dog Pippin. That is a surface note. You need to watch the beach sequence of Jaws back to back with this movie because clearly they love Jaws with this movie and honor it a lot. It's not a great movie. It is not a great movie, and it's not even particularly scary. But the intention of the movie is there, and I will say this: it's better than the book.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying you should see it. I'm definitely not saying that. You should just listen to this podcast and then go about your day.
Well, it sounds like, I love Jaws. And I think we just saw there was like a whole side discussion on how much everybody loves Jaws and how well that film still holds up. So I'd say, on a Saturday afternoon, I can put on The Meg and watch and just... I can sit back and have fun and look at, the influence of Spielberg's classic on this one and take it for what it is. I can do that. Sure. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So there it is.
So speaking of Drag Me to Hell. So what you then need to do is you do a little Googling and you can, if you aren't aware of the theory about the film, that it's really about eating disorders. I know there's several, websites that have articles that sort of break down how Drag Me to Hell is really about either bulimia or other eating disorders that are an underlying subtext. So she may be interested in looking at it that way to see how Sam Raimi was doing a much smarter film than I think a lot of people thought he was doing. So.
Well, interestingly, I don't think that conversation would last very long because as she tells it, she didn't see much of it. She had her eyes covered for most of it. And she's with this group of friends who know that she's really naive around scary movies. And so they adore watching her watch movies. And so I think that's I think that's what was going on here, that she was actually being trolled and probably doesn't really remember much about her movie.
for Thanksgiving, you guys can sit down and do a family viewing of Raw, so that might be fun.
Yeah. Bon appetit, everybody.
Exactly.
Yeah. So now we have to talk about what's coming this week.
Yeah. What are you guys doing?
I don't even know. I don't even know what's coming.
I'm trying to look
week.
at the schedule, but somebody's got it
filtered
to 2019, and I can't mess around.
You don't know how to. You don't know how to do that.
You guys do your little magic on there, and things are hidden.
There's nothing. No, there's nothing. There's nothing hidden. I'm looking at it right now. Let's see.
I'm looking at scheduled draft. Oh, there we go. That's
not a thing.
Don't look at drafts. I'm looking at the master recording schedule.
So what just went live this week, what we talked about last week, was Day of the Dead. Yes. This coming week, Once Upon a Time in the West.
All right.
Also celebrating its 50th anniversary, Sergio Leone. 1968, Once Upon a Time in the West.
So you guys have to explain this to me, because I saw this and now I remember it. It's the Once Upon a Time trilogy, which is Once Upon a Time in the West, Once Upon a Time in America, and Once Upon a Time in Duck You Sucker. No, it's Duck You Sucker. How is that part of a Once Upon a Time trilogy if there's no Once Upon a Time in it?
Okay. So the title of Once Upon a Time, it's not Once Upon a Time in Duck You Sucker.
I know that. It's just Duck You Sucker.
The title had changed a number of times, and actually it should be Once Upon a Time in the Revolution.
Okay. Gotcha.
That is the other title.
Okay. But we're doing Once Upon a Time in the West, which I have seen.
Yes.
I have seen that one.
Outstanding.
Yeah. It's been a long time coming on that one. It's a Western. It's a big shootout, epic scale.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Such a good movie.
Epic scale.
Yeah.
It is a movie about it's about really the sort of the death of the Western, right? The death of the West and modernization. It's about discovering something grand, new, and modern that's going to change the world. That could be something world-changing inventions. In this case, it's the train.
Yes,
the railroad. Maybe that's something. World-changing inventions.
Yes.
What do you think?
I think that's got to be one.
Okay. So that's one. We've also got, like, in terms of our guys, we got a guy whose character name is Harmonica. Great instruments in movies.
No.
That's
action hero, action stars playing musical instruments. No, I don't think we're going to get that.
We have we have some how about this is one of the great stories of this is how Henry Fonda got cast. His his beautiful blue eyes, his beautiful deep wells to his soul, and his youthful demeanor cast as the bad guy.
So
can we come up with movies about
casting against type?
Casting against type. What do you think?
Yeah. We also have isn't there an epic duel shootout at the end of this?
I can't remember. Have we've
probably done that.
We probably didn't do this until until after we had done the last Sergio Leone series, right? So we probably haven't done great duels.
I don't think we have.
Okay, great duels it is. Okay. Anything else? Do we have? Did you like casting against type?
Sure. I think that gives us it opens a wide range of movies.
I think so too. I think that's good. So world-changing inventions, movies that highlight actors cast against their type, and great duels.
Yes.
Take that however you see fit.
Exactly.
I like it. That's going to be a good list.
All right.
Steve Sarmento. And I think that's it. I don't think we have anything else to talk about. We have run out of all the words. Thank you, everybody, for downloading, listening to this. And if you are, that means it's because you are supporting us on Patreon. So thank you very much for your continued support. We appreciate doing this with you. Anything else you want to say, Steve?
Hondo.